Harry is now seeing the truth about her and told that things are not honky-dory. Harry, the scales have been falling off Harry's eyes. Thank God. At least he can save himself and hopefully the two children. His children. His children. He can hopefully save from really what is a fate worse than death. Because really, to live with somebody like Meghan is really an awful, awful fate. I know what I'm speaking about.
Lady Colin Campbell, goodness me, it has been a disastrous week for the Sussexes. Their new chief of staff, Josh Kettler, out after just 3 months. This is their 18th member of staff now to quit. They tried to claim, it was only just a trial period and it was by mutual agreement. But come on, Lady C, this is a disaster, right? What's going on?
Well, I have been told that, on the contrary, he walked decisively. I wish I had my notes, because I took some notes which I used for my own show on this topic. But the gist of what I was told was, and I'm now going to paraphrase, was that he is yet another one of the people who has been lured in. The word used was lured in by the glamour of royalty and the prestige of royalty. And they get lured in. They then discover, I was told it's a Red Riding Hood situation. Was the words that were used. So they get lured in by the glamour of royalty. And then they quickly discover, as I was told, many of them have commented, because of course they're all signed up with NDAs, but people still talk. And they talk to people who then talk to other people. Let's put it that way. So even if they're not talking directly to you and breaking the NDA, the information that they have to give is neutralizes the NDA. And several of them have the same complaint to make, which is that they've been lured in with the fantasy of and the glamour and the lure of something being so prestigious, and they discover that it's a massive grifting operation, and that what they thought was going to be prestigious turns out to be actually dangerous for them to have on their CVs, and that I want to be careful how I put this down for legal reasons.
Of course.
They then also, the working conditions are thoroughly undesirable, and I was told that working for Harry and Meghan is like a doctor in a lunatic asylum, where the lunatics are telling the doctor what treatment should be given, while the doctor is ignored. But evidently he went in with high hopes, and he left, and it was not a trials thing. I was told he was definitely employed really to solve the Harry problem, and to solve and to fix their image, and to try to get things back on track. And it became obvious to him that this was impossible, and that he strongly disapproves, I was told, of quite a lot of what goes on there behind the scenes. And he finally thought, no, I'm going to get out while the getting out is good, because I gather he couldn't take the chance of having his future employability and his reputation compromised by an association with them when they went to Colombia. That's pretty damning stuff. And it's coming from people very close to them, who know what's going on and who are in touch with people who have worked for them. And believe me, Jeff Kettler is the latest member of the Sussex Survivors Squad. And
Yes.
he has jumped, not before he was pushed. He has jumped because he realized he'd sooner jump into a river that's fast flowing than wait to be consumed by the alligators around him.
Which is actually really sensible in a lot of ways. But you talk about the Sussex Survivors Squad. It's big now, Lady C. There's lots of members of it. And they do speak to each other. They do share information. And of course, you're correct to say that there are these NDAs, which means none of them can speak publicly. But there's now such a large group of people, and it's like I mentioned earlier this week, I don't know if you're a fan of Taylor Swift, Lady C, but there's a Taylor Swift song which goes, "It's me, I'm the problem, it's me." And when are Harry and Meghan finally going to realise that they are the problem, not the 20 highly professional people who have worked for some of the toughest bosses in the world, from Robbie Williams to Hillary Clinton, yet they seem to be absolutely fine working for those sorts of divas, but it's impossible to work for Harry and Meghan.
But it's not only the way Harry and Meghan behave towards them, it is Harry and Meghan's agenda. And
true.
This, when people have scruples and a conscience, and they have an awareness of the importance of their reputation, they don't want to be associated with what one of the people said to me. They think it's a massive grifting operation, and they don't want to be a part of it. Once they realize there's no credit due to them, either from within or without the organization, they're going to save their skins. And it's not only emotionally, it's reputationally.
Yeah, I know. It's very difficult. But the thing is, you look at their career now, Lady C, and the problem is good people do not want to go and work for them. So they are going to struggle even more, because the only people who are now going to go and work for Archewell or Harry and Meghan are the folk on the B list, the folk who other people don't want.
Not the B list, the F list. No, really, I'm serious. Not the B list.
I was being too kind for once.
There are many, you are being too kind, Dan. There are many second-tier people who work in royal institutions. There are many second-tier people on William's staff, on the King's staff. The royal institutions have traditionally not really had A+ number one go-getters. Some of them have had wonderful characters. But in terms of, and especially in recent years, where, as the monarchy has become more representational as opposed to powerful, you have had people who are more aware of the importance of nuance and of colluding with the governments, etc., etc. So they don't have to be A-list gung-hos, but they do have to be people of integrity, honor, character, and ability. And I'm afraid those people don't want to work for Harry and Meghan. And the few who have been duped into working for them, such as Jeff Kettler, quickly leap out of, once they realize that what they thought was a nice looking pool is a cauldron, they jump out of it. I mean, he couldn't have made it clearer in his actions. I mean, you don't leave as chief of staff a few days before a mage at all. But I understand that's part of the reason why he left, because of some of what he knew was going to be going down. And I gather he did not approve of some of the agenda and the agendas and some of what was going to be going down. And let's wait and see, because I, as a Jamaican, am horrified that especially with the comments that Francia Marquez has now made,
the Colombian vice president,
about how she connected up with Meghan, and that it was basically on a matter of color, on the grounds of color and the grounds of victimization. Meghan has passed for white for most of her life. She's never, by her own admission, ever experienced color prejudice until she decided she needed to make it up. By her own account, she had no color prejudice whatsoever.
And she sold herself on her CV, Lady C, as Caucasian.
Yes. Yeah. And she also made sure that her mother only came to her graduation. Her mother never went to one event at that school. I know this from one of her teachers. She never went to one event at her except her graduation. So for all we know, it could have been an imitation of life thing. And there's my nanny.
God, shocking. Now, the thing is, Lady C, though, every single project at the moment that they touch just goes horribly wrong. And the latest was the launch of the Parents Network, which may have been another factor behind Josh Kettler's departure, of course, because they were expecting this to be a big hit, but it really wasn't. And actually, it shows you how much their stock has fallen, that they give the first interview, and I want to look at some of the key moments from that interview to get your reaction actually in just a moment, but they deliver their first joint interview, Lady C, since Oprah Winfrey, which stopped the world. It may have stopped the world for all of the wrong reasons, but it did stop the world. And actually, there was just a bit of a dismissive shrug.
You had an experience that connects you to these families. And I see you touch your husband's hand in just the way I knew that you would be looking after each other if I went places. But the connection that you have with people is they know you had suffered too, personally. Contemplating killing yourself is what suicidal ideation was. And I'm dancing around this because I can see you're uncomfortable with my even going there. Do you?
I understand why you are, though. I wasn't expecting it, but I understand why you are, because there is a through line, I think. And when you've been through any level of pain or trauma, I believe part of our healing journey, certainly part of mine, is being able to be really open about it. And I haven't really scraped the surface on my experience, but I do think that I would never want someone else to feel that way. And I would never want someone else to be making those sort of plans, and I would never want someone else to not be believed. So if me voicing what I have overcome will save someone, or asks or encourage someone in their life to really genuinely check in on them and not assume that the appearance is good so everything's okay, then that's worth it. I'll take a hit for that.
You have.
She wasn't happy, Lady C, was she? But a little veiled threat there too. I've only just scraped the surface. I guess there's much more coming in her book. What did you make of it?
Well, I thought the whole thing was laughable. I actually thought that Jane Pauley was very good. I actually think that whole thing was very carefully scripted. I do not believe that Jane Pauley for 1 second surprised her. I think that it was even scripted where she was supposed to touch Harry's hand, and Harry refused to give her his hand. And Jane Pauley went with the script, even though she was aware. Now, Dan, you're a professional. You know, you would actually, if you wanted to rescue the person, you would amend the script. Oh, I see, she had touching his knee. She didn't. She said hand. I thought that Jane Pauley, who incidentally has had huge problems with manic depression and suicidal tendencies. So I think was as convinced about Meghan's suicidal ideation as I was. And when I was growing up as a teenager and I was as trapped as I was, I had to face the fact that suicide might actually end up being the only viable alternative to solving my problems. So, and also I am an ambassador for SOS Silence of Suicide, which Michael Mansfield, the famous advocate, created because his daughter died from suicide. And you know, I mean, it's a hugely important topic. And to have this there's a little artificial scrubber pretending that she has had suicidal ideation when it's quite obvious she hasn't. First of all, if you have at all contemplated suicide, you don't smile while talking about it. No. It is truly offensive that you would be smiling while talking about it. And this faux nobility, oh, I'm going to take a hit for people. I mean, she's taking a hit for, it is so offensive, but
she's taking a hit for lying, isn't she? That's what she's taking the hit for. That's the only criticism that she's had. We know she's lying.
Yeah. But she's pretending that she's setting herself up to be reviled because she's so noble. She has to be one of the most ignoble personalities I have ever had the displeasure of encountering in public life. She is truly an appalling human being. I thought that Jane Pauley handled it brilliantly because Jane Pauley was really quite mocking of her.
Well, she was. And actually, you could tell that Meghan was not liking Jane Pauley at all. I actually want to show you another moment where that becomes really clear, Lady C. So let's watch along.
The two of you, this is, it's a modest beginning. You know, it's not an army of parents yet.
No.
But what are your ambitions?
I think you have to start somewhere. I think the simplest thing that anyone watching this or anyone who's able to make change, to look at it through the lens of, what if it was my daughter? What if it was my son? My son or my daughter who comes home, who are joyful, who I love, and one day, right under my roof, our entire lives change because of something that was completely out of our control. And if you look at it through the lens as a parent, there is no way to see that any other way than to try to find a solution.
Oh, it was just a lovely dig, wasn't it, Lady C? Modest beginning, and you can just see Meghan raging inside. But you know, I've only promised to talk to you about products on this show that are actually life-changing. This one is a bit more personal, but the guys watching will completely understand. And let me tell you, girlfriends, wives, if you're looking for a present, a treat for your husband or boyfriend, this is a game changer and they will love it. Because we want our grooming routine to be a one and done deal. So the days of using the same trimmer for your face and your nether regions are over thanks to our friends at Manscaped. They've come up with the ultimate package to keep your hairs trimmed from 12 till 6. So introducing the brilliantly titled Beard and Balls bundle featuring the Lawnmower 5.0 and the Beard Hedger. Now, I'm not talking about this type of lawnmower, but the product provides precision trimming for all areas, even the sensitive ones. And you'll get them as manicured as freshly cut grass. I'm talking about a trimmer for the moneymaker, another for the boys downstairs. This trimmer gets it right the first time. It's gentle on the skin, and it has 2 interchangeable skin-safe blade heads, so you can choose between a precise trim or a smooth finish. Did I also mention it's waterproof, which means you can trim in the shower, avoid making a mess. Perfect for those of us who appreciate efficiency. Next, I want to tell you about the Beard Hedger. So whether you're going for a neat stubble or a full-on lumberjack look, this trimmer has you covered. It features a titanium-coated stainless steel T-blade, 20 length options, which means you can achieve any style you want with just a twist of the zoom wheel. And just like the lawnmower, the Beard Hedger is also waterproof, so you can handle your beard grooming right in the sink or shower without worrying about water damage. With up to 60 minutes of runtime and an LED charge indicator, you'll never be caught mid-trim with a dead battery either. This is a gentle product, no more cuts. You'll keep your loved ones happy, and using this product will increase your confidence. The best news is Today, I've got a great deal. 20% off and free shipping. It comes really quickly, actually, because I ordered some products the other day. Very, very quickly delivered, beautifully packaged. You just have to use the code Outspoken at the checkout. You'll get 20% off everything via the website www.manscaped.com. So let me repeat that, www.manscaped.com. Use the code Outspoken at the checkout. No more juggling multiple tools or dealing with subpar results, just efficient, effective grooming wherever you need it for the premium grooming experience. Trust Manscaped.
Well, Jane Pauley's a very, very good interviewer, and she's very professional. And she knows about suffering. She is a victim herself of suicidal ideation and of manic depression. You can't fool the real ones. And she managed to make it as earthed as it was possible. But what I found really offensive is that Meghan is pushing a censorship agenda on the back of parents who have lost their children to suicide.
I know.
And she has no concept of the issues involved, and she is invalidating the parents' experience and indeed the motivation that drove these children to suicide, with coming up with her rubbish. I mean, it is so truly offensive to anybody who knows anything about the subject. And I have no doubt that Jane Pauley was instructed, as you will have been on many an occasion when you were with GB News or wherever else you were before, to interview people that you didn't particularly want to interview. But you then do it as well as you can and as professionally as you can. But I think she made sure she got her digs in. It reminded me of Alison P. Davis with The Cut. Remember that interview with Meghan?
Oh, yes.
Cut, where she just quoted Meghan and let Meghan hang herself with her words.
Exactly.
And
she gave her the rope, and we realised what a mad woman we were dealing with. But also, Lady C, the thing that offended me most, actually, was the complete lack of any obvious empathy or sympathy or emotion that Harry and Meghan had with the parents who were sitting next to them, literally bearing their soul. And there was one moment that actually really summed that up. Have a watch.
In his hand, the phone. That's how addicted he was. He couldn't even kill himself without posting about it first.
And like the Dollies, it's often impossible for parents or anyone else to see.
Just no humanity there, Lady C.
Colder than ice. Look, I've had my eyes done. Check out my new eyes. Yeah. And I've got my Catherine wig on, which also covers up the fact that my scars might show. So because notice no white parting in with the brown face. And I'm going to show everybody how great I look. And who's that Tassa woman speaking about her son having topped himself? Who cares? I mean, come on. You're here to look at me. I'm the fabulous one. I mean, the woman is an offense to humanity.
And why is Harry so miserable, Lady C? He barely spoke during that interview. He was cold. Is he really that unhappy, or had something specifically gone wrong that day to put a bee in his bonnet? Although we're seeing it a lot, actually, lately, aren't we?
Well, I need to be careful what I say, Dan. But the whole business of the suicide ideation is something that Harry is fully aware of, being a very dangerous area, let's put it that way, or a very dangerous topic. And he will not have known about it because he is fully aware of the dangers inherent on in discussing that. And he when she put her hand on his knee, there's no doubt in my mind that it was very scripted and agreed, because, as you know, interviewers and interviewees are briefed as to exactly what to say and how to say it and when to say it. But she will have said, oh, it's okay, Harry will do it. Well, Harry didn't do it. Because Harry didn't. I understand that Harry is very mindful that too many of us know the reality of what has happened in certain situations, and that the one thing they should not be focusing on is why Meghan would lay claim to being suicidal. Because Meghan should not be laying claim to being suicidal, because she's laid claim to being suicidal on the 16th of January, having been at Birkenhead on the 14th of January. And he is fully aware of the fact that the dates don't match up, that with their various claims in terms of I was curled up in a ball, and one tail left eye. H had to get me up, and I didn't want to go, but I had to go. And he knows that there are many of us who are on to the whole reality of what happened.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And including, by the way, Lady C, the fact that she claims that she was sobbing in the middle of the Royal Albert Hall, sitting in the royal box, but no one saw and no one took a photo. I mean, just complete baloney.
Yes,
Complete
the lights
baloney.
were never dimmed enough. She never had her makeup mod.
No.
And if you zero in on them, she was with her smirk, the constant smirk that she adopts when look at me, I'm so great and grand. And also, if I smirk like this, I look whiter, while if my face relaxes, it's too African in presentation. And having gone to the trouble of having all that plastic surgery, I'm certainly not gonna do anything but keep a little straight. Thanks.
At the same time, Lady C, Harry's decided to go to war with his own dad via People magazine, classless and particularly grim, given, and I know you're always careful about this, but given we know King Charles's health is not improving, put it that way, why on earth did he do something like this, Lady C?
Well, their marriage and their lives are in a mess. And my reading of the situation is that he's pulling both north and south, and so he's very conflicted. And he and she most likely feel they have a limited amount of time in which to accomplish that which they can accomplish, chief of which is the restoration of their IPP status. And what they don't seem to realize is, even if Charles could, which he can't, get it restored, because he can't, he doesn't have the authority.
He'd have to overturn a government decision, and that would lead to a constitutional crisis. Like, it's not even in his command to do it.
That's right. But even if he could, it can be reversed as soon as William is on the throne.
Oh, and it would be.
I would be very surprised if William is going to take as tolerant a view as Charles has taken. And Charles, as we all know, has actually stopped speaking to his son. Now, you and I have known this for some time, and you and I have been saying this for some time, and contradicting Harry and Meghan's stories that were planted in People and Vanity Fair, etc. Oh, we're regular Zoomers. Oh, every week we're Zooming with William and Catherine and
right,
and blah 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 blah, all rubbish. Well, they finally confessed via People that Charles won't speak to him. So, they're not exactly and on the back of that, they are trying to force Charles to speak to him by briefing in the most appalling way against him to American publications. I mean, it's absolutely.
It's just so grim. It's so grim. But I'm delighted they have confirmed it, and I'm delighted that Charles refuses to speak to him. I don't think he should speak to him at the moment, given the pressures on his health and the stress that Harry's calling him. I think it's much better that Charles is not speaking to him, if I'm honest.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. I absolutely couldn't agree more. And also, treachery is not an accidental quality.
Indeed.
It is a character flaw.
Indeed.
And Harry has shown himself to be treacherous. And nobody in their right mind would actually trust Harry. So the fact that his father and his brother want to have little or nothing to do with him, because Harry was always a problem, but he was hot-headed but somewhat good-hearted. He's now hot-headed and hard-hearted.
Yeah.
Meghan's influence has destroyed that part of his personality, which was ameliorating and that was somewhat humane. She's destroyed it, and they are on a rampage together.
They are. Now,
Sorry, Dan, I'm sorry, Matt. I'm sniffling because I think Aurora's fur seems to be bothering me. But they are on a rampage.
I hear you. Yep.
They are totally disconnected from reality.
Lady C, I have to congratulate you because we haven't spoken on air since you launched the incredible GoFundMe campaign for Thomas Markle, a good man who has been treated so appallingly, not just by his daughter, but also by his son-in-law, Prince Harry. And initially you said a £10,000 goal. Oh my goodness, Lady C, you have smashed it. I looked last night, £56,000 you've raised for Thomas Markle. Now, this is really critical to point out. He has medical costs. The family never asked for this. It's something that you did off your own back. But how amazing that we've all been able to show our support to Thomas Markle, a great man who never deserved the treatment from his daughter to trash him on an international scale.
Well, Dan, somebody said on my channel that somebody should do something. And I thought, well, yeah, it's a good idea. Well, I'll do it. I mean, if I wasn't going to do it, who was going to do it? And I feel that Thomas Markle is a King Lear character, and that Meghan is the combination of Goneril and Regan. And let's call her Goneregan, and if it sounds like something transmissible. And
I was wondering what you were saying there for a second.
There's a good reason for it, because really she is toxic. But I didn't do it for her. I did it for him.
Yeah.
And I thought that because my mother mistreated her mother. And I understand a lot of what Thomas Markle is going through just because of what happened with my mother and my grandmother. And I mean, you and I both know Thomas Markle, and he's a decent, kind man. And also, Gigi Perot, who was Meghan's drama teacher, is a great friend of mine. And I met her through Elaine. And she said to me, Thomas Markle was the most wonderful, kind, generous. He was always doing things for the school, and without any question of approbation, reward, anything. He's just a nice man, and my experience of him has been he's a nice man. But I know it through Gigi that he is genuinely a nice man. And so I thought he deserves it. And I thought if I could in some small way, and I didn't expect it to be as successful as it has been. I just thought if I did it and I set it at £10,000 and it's well over 50,000 now. But if I'd set it, I thought I'll set it at 10,000. And, at least it gives people an opportunity to show that they care and that there are decent people in the world and that people do understand that there's room for compassion. I mean, what does Meghan have to forgive her father for? The fact that she set up an interview with Jack Rayner and got and organized it with Jack Rayner, who then approached Samantha. And as Thomas Markle has said, it's quite clear she never wanted him at the wedding at all. He's never received an invitation. She told him it was lost in the post. I mean, excuse me, clearly he was set up from the word go. Why? Because he was trying to rescue his reputation. I was told by people at the palace that the late Queen offered not only for Harry and Meghan, her father and her mother. They accepted on behalf of the mother, they refused it on behalf of the father. And everything that I have seen happen and my understanding of Thomas Markle, which will be far more limited than Meghan's, she understood it. She slammed his buttons hard enough. He'd if not croak, he'd certainly be so destroyed by it all that he wouldn't come to the wedding, which is precisely what happened. And as he said to her and to Harry, well, aren't you sorry I'm not dead? Because, and that I think was really the objective of the exercise. I think he alighted upon the object of the exercise because Meghan doesn't want her father around. She doesn't want Harry to know her father because she doesn't want Harry to ever hear from her father the truth about her. But Harry is now seeing the truth about her. I'm told that things are not honky-dory. Harry, the scales have been falling off Harry's eyes. Thank God. At least he can save himself and hopefully the two children. His children, he can hopefully save from really what is a fate worse than death. Because really, to live with somebody like Meghan is really an awful, awful fate. I know what I'm speaking about. I've lived with a Meghan. And, it's really, it's like having an egg beater in your brain.
Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please do subscribe if you want lots more clips and interviews like that. Plus, if you want to watch our totally uncensored after show, then visit www.outspoken.live.